Yo guys, what's going on? Blossom is back. Welcome back to a very funny / interesting video today. Today I want to set out and tell you and find out what are the worst cars ever in top drives within their respective years. For example, I see this first gen Lamborghini Gallardo, right? And unfortunately, my mind has been tainted by top drives where when I see it now, I'm just like, oh, that's a trash car. not because it's like bad or anything, you know, the V10 is cool and all, and I might not be the biggest fan of Lamborghinis, but my goodness, like when I see a Lamborghini or an Audi in real life, I'm just like, oh, yeah, I know it's really bad in top drives. But anyway, let's get into it. So let me explain the rules before we get into the winners, okay, or the losers, the winners, whatever way you want to call them. So the rules are such: I'm only judging based on cars that were released or updated within that year, okay? And it's only going to cover ultra rares, epics, and legendaries, okay? BAS. Now, when I mean release or updated, that means that the car had to come with the update. So 2017, no update means it's just the OG cars, or a car that was updated. So like, let's say the Cadillac 16, for example, went from standard tires to performance tires in, I believe, 2023. So it will be considered as a changed car within that year, okay? Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is the worst and the most useless car can be different, and I will be showing you an example of that real soon. And last but not least, remember, this is my personal opinion. So worst and most useless car, okay? So like I said, there's a difference, the worst and the most useless. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about, you know, just the most useless car for every single year. But the Mercedes CLS 400, in my opinion, you know, is slightly different. I don't think it was the most useless car in any given year, but I think it's the worst car. And I've talked about it so many times that the problem with the CLS 400 is that it gives every player a false sense of security. You know, they get an epic so early on and they think that this is going to be a fantastic epic for them and it's going to carry them throughout, you know, multiplayer like it did in the campaign, only for them to, you know, have their hopes and dreams shattered because they realize that, oh, wait a minute, this car is actually kind of terrible. So it can be different, okay? The worst and the most useless can be different. So anyway, we're going to start off with 2017. What are the worst cars of 2017, also known as the most useless cars of 2017? Starting off with the ultra rare, that goes to the Subaru Tribeca. So the 2017 photo, as you can see, is very, very blur. The 2017 or the old photo is always going to be on the left, if there is one, and then the newest current day photo will always be on the right, again, if there are two photos on the screen. So the Subaru Tribeca, in my opinion, in terms of the game's release in 2017, stands as the worst ultra rare in the game. It was definitely the worst ultra rare in 2017. This thing was just absolutely terrible across all accounts. It looked really bad, stats were bad, it was an all-surface tire car, and this was, you know, you gotta think about the climate as well, right? 2017, all-surface tires were 2 times more useless than they are now. At least now, Hutch is trying really hard to make events where all-surface tire cars are more useful in. But in 2017, nah, man, they were still learning the ropes. All-surface tires, they were used in almost nothing unless you were like the Trailblazer or a G-Wagon. Alright, moving on now is the worst epic in 2017, and that goes to the Audi RS6 Plus. This thing used to be an RQ26 back in the day, and now it's an RQ66. Now, here's the thing, right? The Audi RS6 Plus that you see over here used to be the same exact RQ as this Mitsubishi Lancer Evo. So these two used to be RQ26 back in the day. Look at the stats difference, by the way. 4.482 to 3.987. Both of those cars were 26s back in the day, right? And now you have this bigger RQ system. Look at the difference. It goes from 66 to 78. This thing is closer to an ultra rare. This thing went legendary for like a couple of years, and then it went back down to an epic again. So yeah, there was just, I mean, 2017 was a funny time, right? The game was really unbalanced, but nobody knew it at the same time. And yeah, it's the only time in the game's history where the Audi RS6 and the Mitsubishi Lancer were ranked in the same RQ, and I hope that will never happen again. All right, anyway, moving on to the worst legendary in 2017. It's the Lotus Exige S, in my opinion. Honorable mentions goes out to the Porsche 959 and the Mercedes AMG SLS Roadster. The reason why the AMG SLS Roadster and Porsche 959 were not the winners for the most useless legendary in 2017 was because the AMG SLS Roadster was a decent dragster at the time. It has 95 MRI, and we need to remember this is 2017 top drives we're talking about. No Dodge. no Dodge, no Chargers, no Challengers, and the SLSs were among some of the best dragsters. No Lamborghinis out there, no Miura, no a Fiji motor, Fiji, what is it, a Holden of Fiji, none of that, right? So the SLS was actually pretty good back then, and that's probably why I have an AMG GT drag spec for that reason. The Porsche 959 as well. Back then there weren't a lot of legendaries with performance tires and medium ground clearance, so the Porsche 959 was like a pioneer in that. That being said, the Lotus Exige S was always seen as one of the weakest legendaries, even back in 2017, losing to a bunch of epics like the KTM Expo, for example, or even the Corvette Lingenfelter, if you know about that car as well. Used to be an OG as well, and yeah, usually the Lingenfelters and the KTMs, those cars are going to be maxed, but the Exige S is usually going to be 1-star. Not a lot of people maxed out their legendaries back in 2017. It was seen as a waste of material and fuse material. Anyway, in the current day, it's now an RQ75. It's a okay epic, not great, but you know, not terrible as well. Definitely better as an epic than it was as a legend. All right, moving on. 2018. All right, worst Ultra in 2018, in my opinion, was the Pontiac Trans Am 30th anniversary. 2018 saw the beginning of American Dream, right? One of the first updates we ever had, American Dream. This car was just so out of place. The stats were and still is terrible. It's been an Ultra all along, which is pretty crazy, and the only reason why it has been an Ultra all this time is because it is medium ground clearance, and that's it. The rest of the stats are pretty terrible. Moving on, the worst epic of 2018, in my opinion, is the Chevrolet Camaro SS. It was an RQ23, also known as a Jerry, also known as an RQ65 back in the day, losing to Ultra Rares that were fully upgraded. Again, the Chevrolet Camaro SS was a car that not a lot of people fully upgraded, and now in the current day, it has had a picture change, but it has also gone down a rarity from epic down to ultra rare, and it's a pretty decent ultra rare now, but we can all agree that it still loses to cars like the Alpha 4C, the Alpha 8C, the RQ64 Porsche GT3, and now I guess we have the Crown Pursuit Vauxhall and even the Jaguar Lightweight, so etc, etc, etc. But you know, the Camaro SS is still a pretty decent American ultra rare these days, so I'm glad that it glowed up, you know? It definitely glowed up. Now, moving on to the worst legendary of 2018, American Dream wasn't the only update of 2018, it was the last one, but we also saw the Jaguar and Range Rover update, the first ever introduction of Jaguar and Range Rover into top drives, if I remember correctly, and the worst legendary by far of the entire year of 2018 was a Jaguar F-Type R. This thing was, yeah, it was terrible, and it still is terrible, to be honest. This car was given out in bulk recently. I think it was an epic prize for some event or something. I own it now, and you know, as an epic, it's not great still. 94 handling is still really bad, and I think it got a 0 to 60 cut as well. But that being said, you know, it definitely is better as an epic than it was a legendary. One of the worst legendaries in the game, especially for its time. Alright, moving on. 2019. 2019, the worst ultra rare. Well, we saw German Renaissance, right? In my opinion, it's the RUV R56. It's still an RQ50 this day, but it's gone down 6 RQ since. So it was an RQ56 when it was, you know, introduced. And, well, actually, when it was introduced, it was still like an RQ, like, what, RQ19, something like that, because it was the old RQ system still. But when it went up, it became an RQ56. It's gone down to an RQ50. This thing needs to be a super rare. It's just waiting to be a super rare at this point. The thing is terrible. Now, moving on is the Cadillac XT5. Now, the Cadillac XT5 was a wonderful ultra rare. I would say it was one of the best ultra rare all-surface tire cars in 2017 and in 2018. However, in 2019 and update 9.0, the car went up to an epic. So, you know, I guess Hutch realized, oh, wait a minute, this car's a little bit too good. We're going to move it up. And they did. So the Cadillac XT5 went from an ultra to an epic, went from one of the best ultra rares ever to one of the most useless epics ever, because it was so expensive to upgrade, you know? But remember, this is 2019 top drives we're talking about. So if you had the Cadillac XT5 fully upgraded and it went up to epic, you just had a fully upgraded XT5 epic. So there's that. But that being said, it went from the best within a rarity to one of the weakest within a new rarity. So in my opinion, I thought the Cadillac XT5 was one of the weakest epics from that update, from that year, actually. Now, the worst legendary from 2019, honestly, there were a lot of options to choose, and every single one of them were Lamborghinis. In my opinion, the worst one was the Gallardo Spider. I remember this was, I'm sure some of you OGs might remember PG Leo. Used to be on the channel all the time, used to play the game a lot. I don't think there was any legendary that pissed him off more than this one right here. And this is the legendary that's the quintessential definition of I unpacked it and I'm gonna quick sell it right away so I can open it 10 times from my pack. This was a terrible legendary in every single way. The 0 to 60 was weak. The MRA was weak. The handling was like something you would expect from an ultra rare these days. The Alpha 8C, the Alpha 4C has the same handling as this, right? So yeah, the Lamborghini Gallardo is just still is a terrible epic, to be honest. It's a 75 in the current day, and even then, it's not a good RQ75, to be honest. So yeah, from a legendary status car down to mid-range epic. Well, it should be a mid-range. I don't think it deserves 75. Anyway, moving on. 2020. So this is the year of Great Exhibition and a couple other updates, right? So European Revolution, I think it was. So the worst ultra rare at the time was the Range Rover Sport. What a joke. I mean, everyone didn't like this car. They didn't like the photo. I mean, what is that thing going on in the background? It's just not pretty. Anyway, used to be an RQ53 back in the beginning. Now it's an RQ45. So it went from like an ultra rare to like a mid-range super rare. And rightly so, man. This car is garbage. Moving on, the Volvo S90. The biggest surprise about this car is that it's still a freaking epic. From the time it was introduced in European Revolution up till now, I think when it first came into the game, I believe it was RQ23, and until now, it's still an RQ65, and it's had a handling cut since. Like, it used to be 80 handling, and now it's 78. But I guess it got a top speed buff because it went from 130 miles per hour to 155 miles per hour. But I would say that the old Volvo S90 was a better car than the new one. The one with more handling and a lower 0 to 60. I cannot believe that until today, the S90 T8 is still an epic. It is absolutely terrible. Worst car, worst epic of 2020. The worst legendary of 2020 comes from Great Exhibition, in my opinion. It's the Range Rover Sport SVR. Used to be an RQ80 legend, and now it's an RQ75 epic. Still not a good one. I mean, you've got things like Crown Pursuit coming around, and they're introducing things like the Bentley Bentayga S, which is already better than the Rover SVR. Like, there's gonna be no use for this car unless it's a Range Rover ×5 event, and even then, I just don't think that it's worth maxing out a car for a ceramic pack like that, you know? Anyway, moving on. 2021. This Tribeca, man. I'm telling you, man, this Tribeca is special. It's the only car that shows up twice. It was the worst car in 2017, and it remains the worst car in 2021. It was definitely the worst ultra rare in 2021 because it got a stat change. So it went from RQ55 to RQ52. The handling was cut from 76 to 73. The 0 to 60 was increased from 8.5 seconds to 9.4 seconds, and the top speed was reduced by 129 to 121. So this was already a terrible ultra rare, and it got even worse. In the current day, the Subaru Tribeca, as you know, is currently a super rare. It is a 47 RQ car, as it should be. Anyway, and it did get a slight buff afterwards. From 9.4 it went up to 8.9 seconds. It's really weird, man. Like, what are the real stats of the B9 Tribeca? I don't even know. Alright, the worst epic of 2021. This was a one update year, by the way. It was just JPT. It was a Nissan SEMA VIP. So it was an RQ65 Jerry when it was introduced into the game, and nowadays it's an RQ55. So it's dropped 10 RQs since, and it's got a handling cut as well from 78 to 75. This was a terrible epic, and honestly, it's still a terrible ultra rare today. The worst legendary of 2021 has to go to the BMW 640i. Ah, man, unlucky, man. I mean, it got a big nerf, right? I think it was one of the best standard tire legendaries back in the day, but unfortunately got a huge cut, went down to an RQ80, and nowadays, honestly, it's an ultra rare, right? It's an RQ60 ultra rare. The car has changed so much. 0 to 60 has increased. The handling has been cut. The tires have changed from standard tires to performance. It's ridiculous. I don't know if the MRA has changed for this car or not, but the PL14 nerf on the 640i X-Drive killed the car, bro. Not gonna lie. All right, 2022. That's next. Okay, so 2022, the worst ultra in my opinion was the Bentley Mulsanne Grand Limousine. It used to be a super rare, and it got bumped up to an ultra rare, but its handling got cut. That's right, the handling got worse, but it went up an entire rarity. I know the top speed is high, but not the handling, but the MRA isn't that great, and the 0 to 60 isn't that low. It's not really a dragster. Like, if I really wanted to use like an RQ52 dragster, I would probably still go up like a Lamborghini Countach, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, this is just terrible. I don't know why until today it's an RQ52. The worst epic. Oh, this one was a tough one though. This is a tough pill for every player to swallow, especially if you had this, right? So the oldest photo of the Mitsubishi Lancer is that it used to be an ultra rare. I'm sure like the OGs remember this was one of the best ultra rares in the entire game. This was four-wheel drive, medium ground clearance, but it wasn't inflated with four-wheel drive and medium ground clearance because it had like a really low 0 to 60, had really good handling, and the only thing weak about it was the top speed, but who cares about that, right? And I guess Hutch realized that the car was so damn good, so in PL15 they bumped it up to a 76 RQ, and that absolutely killed it. So it went from one of the best ultra rares to one of the worst epics in the entire game. 76 was so high of an overcorrection. It went from literally a high tier ultra rare where it performed like a low tier epic, and it got bumped up to a high tier epic when it was competing with other high tier epics, and it would not survive against those guys. In the current day, the RQ has severely dropped. It went from 76 to 69. Handling has also been cut from 85 to 84. That being said, man, the Evo 4 will never be what it used to be as this dominating, ultra rare. And honestly, until today, I think 69 is way too high for this car. This thing is like a 67 or a 68 at most, and it definitely wasn't a 76. So this car as an RQ76, and that's what it was, right? In 2022, solidified it as the worst epic in the entire game. The worst legendary of 2022, in my opinion, has to go to the Audi A8. This thing was just absolute garbage, and it still is today. All right, moving on to 2023. We're getting up there now, pretty close to our year. So the worst car ultra, in my opinion, for the year of 2023 goes to the Vauxhall, the Volvo XC70. So it used to be an ultra rare, and it had like 72 handling and 7.90 to 60. That's just garbage. Now it's an RQ46. It's a super rare, as it should be. Moving on, and honestly, I don't think a lot of people even remember that this Volvo was an ultra rare. Anyway, moving on to the worst epic of 2023, it would be the Honda Legend. So it used to be an ultra rare. It got a handling cut, and then it went up to an epic. Like, who even comes up with this kind of shit? Like, bro, like 77 handling, and it went to 74. It got a 3 handling cut, but it went up an entire rarity. This isn't just going up 1 RQ. This is going up an entire rarity. So, the thing about the Evo is that it went from one of the best, if not the best ultra rare, to one of the worst epics. This one went from like, not even the best ultra rare, it was just like okay. It was like an okay ultra rare. And like, okay, it was good, but it wasn't fantastic. It was a good ultra rare, and then it just became a completely useless epic afterwards, man. It's ridiculous. And then last but not least, PL19 also killed the Cadillac 16. So rest in peace to this guy right here. Very simple. It went from standard tires to performance tires, and the only thing that made the 16 so powerful and so memorable was the fact that it was in the standard tire niche. But the moment it became a performance tire car, it was completely useless. There are so many better dragsters. I know that the MRA on this thing is like 110 or something, or 120. But it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter. It's just not that great of a dragster compared to some of the other, cars in the game. It can't even beat like a Hellcat, for example. So yeah, unfortunate. All right, moving on to 2024. So very recent days now. The Buick Envision, in my opinion, was the worst ultra rare. Nothing much to say about it, to be honest. It's just a car that people forget all the time exists. Next up is the Dodge Powerbox. So the Powerbox went from ultra to an epic. So again, just like the Honda Legend, like the Evo, it went from a good ultra rare, or even a great one, to an absolutely terrible epic. On top of that, not only did it change in rarity, but the handling got cut as well, right? It went from 71 handling to 69. And yeah, that's just absolutely terrible. The only thing the Dodge Powerbox has to his disposal these days is Dodge Off-Road, and that's really rare anyway. And for the most part, if you have the Durango Hellcat, you're gonna be okay. So yeah, the Dodge Powerbox is just a terrible epic, one of the worst ones from the year, if not the worst. Last but not least, the worst legendary of 2024 in my opinion was the Audi A8 long wheelbase 60 TFSI, whatever you want to call it. Used to be an RQ82 back in the day, right? And now it is an epic. So it went from an 82 down to a 76. All right, 25 last year. Now, as far as I know, 2025 had barely any RQ changes, or barely any rarity changes. All they had was a bunch of shitty updates of cars that I did not like. So we'll get through this pretty quickly. The worst car in my opinion is the Mini Paceman Cooper SD, one of the few Ultras that I will not max because I have no confidence in this car. And although I am an Ultra collector, this is not a worry for me because this is not going to be an Ultra for much longer. I genuinely can see this going down to a super rare and I don't need to care about it at all. So yeah, this car exists, I guess. One of the most useless epics from last year in my opinion goes to the Mitsuoka Buddy. I love the car, dude, don't get me wrong. I love the name and I think that this was a fantastic PR move from Mitsuoka by just calling it the Buddy. How can you hate anything just called the Buddy? The only thing that I would hate called Buddy is if the Volkswagen decided to call one of their Volkswagens the Volkswagen Buddy. But you know, besides that, the Mitsuoka Buddy, I mean, dude, it's cool. It's a cool car. I like how it looks. You know, it's designed after those classic Chevys as well. Like it's really cool. That being said, it's so useless. I have it fully upgraded. It's just so useless. It's not a great off-roader in a general sense. Handling isn't that great. Although it's from Japan, which is nice. Japan has better off-roaders, and it's a Mitsuoka, and you'll never see a Mitsuoka event. So yeah, unlucky, man. There are a lot. I mean, again, there are a lot of useless epics from last year. The Mitsuoka Buddy is one of them, but if you can think of another one, you're probably right as well. Anyway, the worst legendary. Now this one was tough because I looked at the legendaries that came out from all of the updates that we had last year, because again, there were no like rarity changes or anything like that. So the BMW M4 stood out as the worst one. It came down to the M4 competition and the Volkswagen prize car that we all just got, or we will get, or we might get from Year of the Horsepower. But the problem was with that Volkswagen, if you have a wet Volkswagen event, like a wet fast circuit, wet twisty circuit, or a wet hairpin, that car's actually pretty okay. Like, I found a niche for that Volkswagen. I know it's a terrible four-wheel drive car, but it's okay for that Volkswagen niche. The thing about the BMW M4 is that it's not okay for anything. Like, even if I put it in a BMW event in the wet, there are multiple, like a handful of other four-wheel drive BMW legendaries that will do the job better than this. This was the weakest car for one of the weakest legendaries for German Powerhouse as well, and I just couldn't find much of a saving grace for this car, unfortunately. So it is what it is, man. From what I could see, this was the worst legendary of 2025. I like the car, but it's just kind of unfortunate, I guess. Another car that I was thinking about was the a legendary RQ83 Audi, the all-surface tire one, SQ8, I believe. But then again, that is your best all-surface tire Audi that isn't a price car. So I found a niche for that too. Can you believe it? Anyway, that's gonna be it for today. Let me know down in the comments below what cars did I miss out on, or did I hit it right on the head. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy.